Hello, and welcome to the True Crime Lounge on Crime Saturday. Sorry, I can't talk for some reason. I do apologize. It has been a crazy couple of weeks. From a funeral I had to go to getting caught up with schoolwork, and finally getting back to normal. So for those of you that are just now tuning in, this is part three that I have been anticipating. I know you have been anticipating. So let's jump right into the True Crime Lounge and talk about the murders from Charles Manson. I'm excited. So, a little bit of a reminder about who Charles Manson was if you have been living under a rock. He was a murderer, most known for the murder of Sharon Tate. He was also a cult leader. He had 10 victims. He committed these murders between July and August 1969. Was arrested October 1969. And the date of birth, November 12, 1934. What was his method of murder? Stabbing with a knife. And what's his status? Well, sentenced to death in 1971, automatically commuted to life in prison. When California decided to temporarily eliminate the state's death penalty, and as far as I know, it's still eliminated. Temporarily eliminated. So, let's get started, shall we? Because we have a busy video ahead of us today. Today we have the Crow shooting. Let's start with the Crow shootings. This happened on May 18, 1969, when Terry Mantrell visited a Spawn ranch to hear Manson and the woman sing. Mantrell arranged a subsequent visit not long after, on which he brought a friend who possessed a mobile recording unit, but he himself did not record the group. By June, Manson was telling the family that they might have to show blacks how to start helter-skelter. When Manson tasked Watson with obtaining money supposedly intended to help the family prepare for the conflict, Watson defrauded a black drug dealer named Bernard Lotsapapa Crow. And Crow responded with a threat to wipe out everyone in the Spawn Ranch. Manson countered on July 1st, 1969 by shooting Crow at his Hollywood apartment. Manson's mistaken belief that he had killed Crow was seemingly confirmed by the news projects and the discovery that he had dumped the body of a Black Panther in Los Angeles. Although Crow was not a member of the Black Panthers, Manson concluding that he had been expected retaliation from the group, he turned Spawn Ranch into a defensive camp with night guards of the armed guards. If we needed to have any more proof that Helter Skelter was coming down very soon, this was it, Tex Watson would later write. And he would also say Jackie was going to be the chosen ones. Now, let's talk about the Hinman murder, and then we're going to take a little break real quick, so I can refresh my voice. On July 25th, Manson sent sometime family members, Bobby Bosley, along with Mary Bruner and Susan Atkins, to accompany the acquaintance to persuade him to turn over money. Although Hinman had inherited, the three held the cooperative Hinman hostage for 2 days, during which Manson showed up with a sword and slashed his ear. After that, Bosley stabbed Hinman to death, ostensibly, I guess that's how you pronounce it, on Manson's instructions. Before leaving the Topanga Canyon residence, Busasol, or one of the other women, used Hinman's blood to write "Political Piggy" on the wall and draw a partner paw, a Black Panther symbol. In Magazine's interview 1981 to 1989, 98 to 1999, Bustosselli would say he went to Hemmings to recover money to Hemmings for drugs that he supposedly been bad had, and that Bruner and Atkins, unaware of his intent, went wrong idly merely to visit Hemmings. On the other hand, Atkins, in her 1977 autobiography, wrote that Manson directly told Borisol Bruner to help her in Hemmings to go to Hemmings' supposed inheritance of 21K. I wish I had 21K right now. She said that Manson had told her that privately 2 days earlier that if she wanted to do something important, she would kill him and get his money. And we are back after that short little break. Now we're going to talk about the Tate murders. For those of you who don't know who the Tate murders of this, Sharon Tate and her unborn child. So let's get started. Bustosel was arrested on August 6, 1969, after he had been caught driving Hemmings' car. Police found the murder weapon in the tire rail. 2 days later, Manson told family members at Spawn Ranch, "Now is the time for Helter Skelter." So, on the night of August 8, Manson directed Watson to take Atkins, Linda Kasabian, and Patricia Kenwrinkle to the house where Melcher used to live and totally destroy everyone in it. As gruesome as you can. Sick guy. He told the women to do as Watson would instruct them. Kenwrinkle was one of the early family members, one of the hitchhikers who allegedly have been picked up by Dennis Wilson, the current occupants of the house, of whom were strangers to the Manson followers, were actress Sharon Tate, wife of famed director Roman Polanski, and she was also 8.5 months pregnant. Her friends and her former lover, Jay Sabering, a noted hairstylist. Polanski's friend was an aspiring screenwriter. I'm going to attempt to pronounce this, and I'm sorry if I butcher her name up. Rajasik Prakowski, and Prakowski's lover, Abigail Folger, heirs to the Folger's coffee fortune. Tate's husband, Polanski, was in London working on a film project. Tate had been visiting with him and had returned to the U.S. only 3 weeks earlier. When the murder team arrived at the entrance of the Cielo Drive property, Watson, who had been to the house at least one occasion, climbed the telephone pole near the gate, cut the phone line, and he was now around midnight, and it was August 9, 1969, back in the car into the bottom of the hill that led to the place the group was. Thinking the gate might be electrified or rigged or alarmed, they climbed the bushy embarked and dropped the grills. Just then, headlights came. With an angle, Watson ordered the women to lie in the bushes. He then stepped out and ordered the approaching driver, 18-year-old and high enthusiast Stephen Parent, to halt. As Watson leveled a .22 caliber at Parent, the frightened youth begged Watson to hurt him, that he wouldn't say anything. Watson's first slash at Parent was a knife, and then giving the defensive slash wound on the palm of his hand, and then shot him 4 times in the chest and abdomen. Watson had ordered the women to help push the car further down up the driveway. After traversing the front lawn to have Cassian search and open the window, Watson had cut the screen of window. Watson Cassian to keep watch of them at the gate. She walked over to Stephen Parker's Rambler and waited. He then removed the screen, entered through the window, and let Atkins and Quinrinkle in the driver of the front door. As Watson's direction, Atkins found the house. Three other occupants and Krimwinkel's help brought them into the living room. Watson began to tie Tate and Sebring together by the neck, and he brought up a slung over a beam. Sebring's protest, a second of rough treatment of a pregnant Tate, prompted Watson to shoot him. Folger was taken momentarily back to her bedroom and for her purse, and she gave him the intruder $70. After that, Watson stabbed the groaning Sebring 7 times. Porosky had been bound with a towel. Freeing himself, Porosky began struggling with Atkins, who stabbed him in the legs with a knife, and then which he had been guarding him. As he fought and watched his way toward the front door onto the porch, Watson joined against him. Watson struck him again in the head with a gun multiple times, stabbed him repeatedly, and shot him twice. Watson broke the gun's right grip of the hand, and this time Casabian was drawn up by horrifying sounds. She arrived outside the door in a vain effort to have the massacre. She told Atkins falsely that someone was coming. Inside the house, Folger had escaped with Krenwinkel and fled out the bedroom door to the pool area. Folger then pursued the front line of Krenwinkel, who stabbed and finally tackled her, and she was dispatched by Watson. Her 2 assailants stabbed her 28 times as Prokowski struggled across the lawn. Watson murdered him with a final flurry of stabbing. Porowski was stabbed a total of 51 times. Back in the house, Tate pleaded to be allowed to live alone long enough to have her baby, and escaped herself and even offered herself as a hostage in an attempt to save the life of her unborn child. Her killers would have none of it, as either Atkins Watson, as both killed Tate and stabbed. Watson later wrote, Tate cried, "Mother, mother," as she was killed. Earlier, as the 4 family members headed back to Spawn Ranch, Manson had told the women to leave a sign, something witchy. Using a towel bound Frasky's hands, they wrote "pig" on the front door in Tate's blood. En route home, the killers changed out of their bloody clothes, which was ditched along the hills, along with the weapons. In initial confessions of the cellmate of hers at Sybil Brand Institute, Atkins would later say she killed Tate in her later statements. Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi and before a grand jury. Atkins indicated that Tate had been stabbed by Tex Watson. In his 1978 autobiography, Watson said that he stabbed Tate and Atkins and that Atkins never touched her. Since he was unaware of prosecutor Bugliosi in the time that he never touched her. And the jury had tried the other Tate, Bianca defendants were convinced Atkins had stabbed Tate. He falsely testified against her and he did not stab her. Alright, and we are back. So far we have covered the Hinman murders, the Tate murders, the Folger murders. Now, let me pull up back my thing, and then we will talk about the last of it, the LaBianca murders. And we're going to be starting a new series after I finish the fourth episode, and we're going to call that "Don't Drink the Kool-Aid." So be on the lookout for that one. All right, and let's get started with the Bianca murders. The next night, 6 family members, Leslie Von Houten, Steve Clem Grogan, and 4 from the previous night, rode out with Manson's instruction. Displeased by the panic of the victims at Cielo Drive, Manson accompanied the 6 to show them how to do it. After a few hours' ride, in which he considered a number of murders, and he even attempted one of them, Manson gave Casabian directions that brought the group to 3301 Raverly Drive. This was the home of the supermarket executive Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary, a dress shop co-owner. Located in Los Feliz section of Los Angeles, it was next door to the house of the mansion in which the members had attended a party the previous year. According to Atkins and Casabian, Manson disappeared up the driveway and returned, saying he had tied the house occupants and then sent Watson up with Quinrinkle and Van Houten. In his autobiography, of the other hand, Watson stated that he had been given a loan. Manson returned to take him to the house and with him. Although Manson pointed out the sleeping man through a window, the 2 of them entered through the front door. Watson added that at trial, he went along with the woman's account, which he figured that made him look much less responsible. As Watson tells it, Manson roused the sleeping Lino LaBianca from the couch and at gunpoint and had Watson bind his hands from the leather thong. After Rosemary LaBianca was brought briefly into the living room, Watson followed Manson's instruction to cover her hands with a pillowcase. He bound these together. Manson left, sending Krimwrinkle and Leslie Van Houten into the house. Before leaving Spawn Ranch, however, Watson had complained to Manson about the inadequacy of the previous night's weapons, now sending the women from the kitchen, which the LaBiancas had returned. When he had finished, Watson carved war into the man's exposed abdomen. Hoping for a double crime, Manson considered to direct onto the Casabian to drive to Venus, home of the actor acquainted with of hers, another Piggy, depositing the second trio. He drove back to Spawn Ranch, leaving them and the LaBianca killers to hitchhike. Casabian twatted this murder by deliberately knocking on the wrong apartment and walking a stranger as the group abandoned the murder plan and left Susan Atkins defecated in the stairwell. Well, that is it. Tune in next week and we'll have part 4 for you.